we're kind of halfway through. We're like a third of the way through the Commandments, which is really funny. Thank you for the kind words. We're like halfway through, and there's only 10. Bro Mahado. And that just shows you, and we're just scraping the surface with some of this stuff, right? Like, that shows you how in-depth and how multifaceted things really are, especially when we converge them across multiple platforms, right? So, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for 1.2k likes. We got hearts in the chat. Hearts in the chat. Ay, hearts in the chat. Ay, ay, ay. It's a good day. Ay. My guy. Yeah, I feel that. We are always on the ascension. And I do wonder, I'm like, is there even a finish line on this soul journey? Because I don't think there is. What I think there is a funny combo of words. What I think there is that combo of words makes me giggle. What I think there is though, like, you hear me. What I think there is oh shit. What? Did we just go there? Did we just go there with the is? The triple is? We're doing things people never seen before. Oh, great. That means we're probably aligned somehow energetically. Inception, let's go. Yes, exactly. What I think there is on this soul ascension path, y'all lean into this. We know already there's no heaven and hell. These are constructs our minds have made to help us understand 3D realms, right? And to help us understand the spiritual realms, but that's not correct. What we do know is, essentially, if you think about the laws of the universe, especially within science, which is why we are aligned. It's giving #twin. #twin. Twinning on that soul ascension. You guys, for anyone that's new here, I am essentially a spiritual authority. Now, that is not to mean anything other than a place where you can learn. And what is learning? Learning is to understand, to be able to think on your own. Okay? So, yeah, what I think there is when we... Oh, yeah, so I guess let me get back to, like, the science part. In science, when you think of energy is neither created or destroyed, it's only transferred. And a lot of time, or I don't know the actual amount, but most of the time, what I do know is energy wants to go back to its source. Okay, so if energy wants to go back to its source, what does that mean for us? Are we soul ascending to get back to our larger energy pool source? Or, this is what I think is true for some reason, because I'm like, why would the universe want to experience itself? I think we already are back to source by experiencing the universe and being the universe ourselves. Okay. I'm actually probably going to take this and put it into a little shorter video, but because we're already the universe experiencing itself, wouldn't that entail that that's what we're to do forever, but on different levels? And who's to say there's not endless levels? Because as of right now, when it comes to science, when it comes to quantum science, when it comes to quantum computing, when it comes to quantum physics, these things are endless and they're ever expanding on each other. When it comes to the little particles, right? right? It's got my spectacles. I got spectacles too. Energetic spectacles right now. I got spectacles. I'm thinking. We out here thinking. Okay? That's what we do. And apply knowledge. Applied embodied truth, right? But right now we're thinking, we're contemplating reality and what it really stands for and what this really is. This isn't some cosmic joke where you just go to heaven or hell, maybe, after we pass. This is much deeper, much grander, much more vast, much more expansive, much more beautiful. And the reality is, that's what we're all supposed to be experiencing, is heaven on earth. Karma is hell on earth, repeated cycles again and again and again, to include coming back and reincarnating into the same cycles. That is hell, and the definition of insanity is, as we all know, repeating, like doing the same thing over, expecting different results. Okay, that is what actual hell is, guys. And heaven is something that we are to experience collectively together, because we are the universe experiencing the universe. Right? So how do we anchor more of heaven into the 3D? Well, we do that by understanding spiritual laws that are universal truths as well. And these are foundational things because we're very much so still a very primitive species. Right? These things are, everything that we know currently, you guys, is like a scratch on the surface. What I was trying to say about particle physics is, anytime, like when it comes to science, they just ask a question. When you ask really good questions, you can start to find pretty good answers. When it comes to particle physics, like the tiniest, the thing is, guys, that like keeps going on and on and on. It gets tinier and tinier and tinier. And tinier and tinier. It keeps going. So wouldn't that entail too, when energy is neither created nor destroyed, it's only transferred, wouldn't that entail too that us being the universe experiencing itself, that essentially, even though energy does return to its source, we're already returning to our source because we are experiencing ourselves. So therefore, potentially, we're actually, if, for example, Earth was destroyed, right? We have Elon Musk, which is our guy. Like, that's our buddy. He's our, like, freaking buddy, right? Our dude, doing big things for humanity here. You know, he does think that we need to get to other, like, planets and stuff, which is very true. That's how we become a multiplanetary species in a more advanced civilization, which is where we're headed. And where we've always been headed. We just have been there, getting there at a very slow pace. A very slow pace. I mean, look at ancient Egypt compared to us. How comes they had all this technology, this and that? Freaking boulders and whatever, limestone, like everything that they did. And then that crumbled. And then we had to start all over. Anywho, I digress. So what I'm trying to say about once we do get out of these karma loops and we're all ascending on a very high spiritual level, collective consciousness is going through the roof. I'm talking ascension, right? I'm talking quantum ascension. If there's quantum computing and quantum mechanics, why can't we have quantum soul ascension? Did I just create something new there? Did I just create, or what? Where are we at? Who am I? What are we? Where are we? You hear me? So I'm just thinking out loud, guys, off the dome piece here, which is connected to everything that is as well, connected to you guys as well, connected to the subconscious, the superconscious, that which we cannot see with our eyes. Okay? Now, so do we return to source and then we're just with source in the spiritual realm, which I could see that happening for like forever, like after we have all of our incarnations, which there are multiple religions that believe you can stop reincarnations and just be in the spiritual realm. Well, but then the universe wouldn't be experiencing itself. So that's why I think what happens is we start just creating better and better, and people will, souls are going to encompass every single type of being within the universe, within the multiverse, within the cosmic, what have you, okay? So that's going to include aliens, whatever. Anything that's a living organism that has a soul in the grand cosmos of things, okay? So we're pulling way out of our own galaxy right now. When we look into this, what we can see is essentially if we are God experiencing itself, which is source universe experiencing itself, because we are creators made by the creator experiencing itself, we are divine, and we have a lot more powers. And as we start to like climb together collectively on consciousness, anytime, it's like unlocking a new level, right? Lower consciousness are more animalistic, okay? If it's a human lower consciousness, they're going to have tendencies to kill. So anyone who is a psychopath and stuff like that do mass murders, they're at the lower consciousness rung. They're still loved equally, no matter what. We obviously don't condone murder, but here's the thing. They're still loved equally, they're just at a different playing field. You hear me? They're just at a different playing field. Because there are levels to consciousness, just like there are hierarchy levels within school, just like there are hierarchy levels within a video game, just like there are hierarchy levels within any type of government form, just like there are hierarchy levels on the judicial, local, what have you, whatever, you know what I'm saying. So if that's the case, and a lot of the stuff on the 5D, like and above, which is the spiritual realm, a lot of that stuff, because the 4D, guys, is going to be our emotions and our psyche. And then the 3D is obviously our tangible hard matter, right? So 5D plus, which we only know about 20 dimensions that we can actually kind of understand because of our consciousness. So there's more than that. And when we expand our consciousness together collectively, we get to experience more. So here's what I think is going to happen after we actually do. So say we'll probably reincarnate maybe a couple more times here, but anyone who's actually on the actual path of being intentional with their soul ascension, being intentional with collectively and individually raising consciousness, right? Those are the souls that are going to probably be taken somewhere else, somewhere way cooler, somewhere with probably cooler dimensions and bigger, larger, like upper dimensions. Anyone who's lagging, you hear me, to include some of the people you might love currently, who are lagging in consciousness, who are attached to the 3D, the lower dimensions, who are destructive in their ways, who are not wanting to change, who are wanting to repeat karmic loops again and again in their reincarnation cycle. Those people, it's not that they're not loved, it's just that's where they are. You gotta meet people where they're at, right? Just like if you're reading books when you're in grade school, your reading grade level was at a specific level, and you were met where you were at by reading those levels of books, right? Similar concept. So lower consciousness is more than likely going to be stuck on the 3D physical earth plane, which is a very hard place to be. And not necessarily stuck, but they're gonna keep looping their cycles until they figure it out. And then all of us people that are actually like souls that are actually serious about soul ascension, serious about bringing in divinity, bringing in the divine light, serious about actual elevation in consciousness collectively and individually, those souls are going to be shipped out somewhere way cooler. So yeah, that was the longest. Okay, I think I only talked for like 15 minutes. But yeah, so that's what I think actually is going to happen based off of a bunch of my own personal research, and of course marrying and blending not only spirituality but science as well. We can find a lot of behind science. We can find a lot of the actual truth. And we should be trying to relate anything that's a concept that's not a tangible concept, right? An intangible concept within spirituality. I like to try to anchor that or see where do we find this concept in nature. Because more than likely, when we find that concept in nature, and I got full body chills, ayy, full body chills, ayy. You know what that means, ayy. I'm speaking facts, ayy, speaking facts, full body chills, ayy. We're almost at, oh my gosh, we're at 3K, that's so nice. So essentially, y'all, when we have a spiritual truth that we might not understand or want to anchor in that concept more, a really great thing that I like to do is I like to see where can I find this concept in nature? Where is this mirrored in nature? Because guess what? What will you find? When you ask good questions, you find good answers. You will find it's mirrored somewhere in nature. Which I absolutely love. I absolutely love that. Because it makes these concepts that are somewhat hard to understand when we're in such a 3D dense, lower vibrational energy physical plane, it makes it easier for us to really grasp onto these spiritual concepts, which is freaking awesome. So anyways, thank you all for being here. Essentially, this isn't actually the class. Like, that was just me off the dome. So the class is actually about some of the commandments. Now, when I say 10 commandments, that's usually a time when people want to find the door and leave. Because when you think of command, that word in itself can be extremely, potentially, triggering. No one wants to be commanded to do anything. We're not in the military. If you were in the military, you'd be like, yes, I have commands. These are my commands. But you see how the military is an organized, like, one unit. I don't want to get off on some type of other sidetrack because I probably could, but there's probably mirrors within that as well. Everything's so interconnected. Now, what I wanted to say, that's awesome. You also get downloads. What I wanted to say here, I think I'm going to try to scoot in a little bit closer to y'all so I can actually read what you're saying because I'm kind of far away. Okay, so, it can be triggering when you hear the word commandments, but here's the thing. When we think of these 10 commandments, what we need to reframe them as are spiritual universal truths. Okay? To build upon a good foundation, a good spiritual foundational truth to build upon. To do what? Ascend on our soul's path, our soul's journey. And also, welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. So, lower vibrational energy is very much so tied to lust, so please keep that in mind to some people in the chat here. And that's not something that's higher soul ascension, so it's good that you're here. Everyone, doesn't matter where you're on your path, everyone belongs in understanding their divinity and understanding kind of where they lay and where they're trying to go on the soul ascension path. This live is essentially about some of the commandments, but from a wide variety of disciplines. Okay? And the purpose of every single one of my live is to actually make sure that you guys can get some spiritual truths and concepts to be able to apply to your life literally now, literally at this second, to be able to streamline some quantum jump, quantum leap soul ascensions, like consciousness, higher consciousness levels, right? Because if we can find it in nature, we can find it in technology, we can find it in ourselves as well. And it's here for us to experience and explore, and we should, but way before now, we should have been enjoying heaven on earth. That is what heaven is the universe experiencing itself. A lot of people are stuck in earth here in the realms of what would be considered HE double hockey sticks, right? Live in horrible patterns, repeating cycles of soul tikkun corrections, which we want to break free of those, if we haven't already, to quantum leap into higher soul ascension, higher dimensions, potentially even higher multiverse type of scenarios. Because why limit yourself? Why limit yourself? We are eternal. We are eternal. Okay? Now, yeah, so we're going to start here. This is actually day 3 of our journey through the 10 Commandments, which are, again, spiritual truths for us to incorporate into our daily lives to be able to quantum ascend. Absolutely. It's a very intentional thing, okay? So here's the thing, guys. Religion is more of something that you're tied to in the 3D. That's not something that's true over on the other side. That's something that we created. So, a lot of religion is necessary for our expansion and our soul ascension. However, it's not the end-all be-all. Why? Because from a spiritual aspect, there's one source creator, and the source creator is not saying we need to tie our shoes a certain way to be able to have a relationship with source creator. There's nothing along those lines. Okay? So we're going to go ahead. My God is the same God that everyone else on this planet Earth also tends to. It doesn't matter what religion you're in. You hear me? We're all talking to the same source. It doesn't matter what you call it. Source, God, angels. It's your own intentions, which the superconscious, subconscious hears, because it's taking notes of everything. It's taking notes of what y'all are saying in this chat as well. So make sure that you're speaking from a place of truth. You're speaking from a place of head and heart coherence and not misalignment, because source is also enjoying this chat with us right here and taking notes on what is being said. So act accordingly, right? Let's get on this soul ascension together and not get in karmic lower vibrational loops that are keeping you stuck and will keep you on this planet. That's not what you want, I'm telling you right now. Okay? So, now that we got that out of the way, we're going to get into the 4th commandment. And the 4th commandment, y'all, is remember the Sabbath. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. So what does that mean? Well, before we did this series, we actually were enjoying the series on the chakras. So from a chakra perspective, since we're still on the first tablet of the 10 Commandments, there's 2 tablets, 1 through 5, and then 6 through 10. The first tablet, as a reminder, is going to be linked to our upper chakras because it's linked to our divinity with source. Okay. Now, the 4th chakra, which is remember the Sabbath and keep it holy, is going to be inviting us to rest and renew. Aligning with the heart chakra, that is the center of love, balance, and divine flow, giving and receiving in balance. But here's the thing, it's also going to be linked to and bleeding into our solar plexus chakra. Because as you remember and recall, everyone knows the solar plexus is linked to our work. So having that imbalance is also essentially not overworking. It's not underworking and being lazy. It's not overworking and putting yourself 6 feet under too soon than originally you were supposed to be. So, we'll start with a few questions. Can I see the book you're reading? Sir, I've got a ton of books on my, or she, he, I don't know who. I can't see if you're who you are, but I have a few of my books that I love on my Amazon storefront. You're welcome to check that out. And then I've got, I'm literally surrounded by books. I've got books everywhere. I am, bury me, say a prayer first, right? But then bury me under a library, or perhaps even bury me under that one bookstore, half-price books. Bury me under half-price books, y'all. Okay? That is where I want to be when I pass. That does not matter. See, I'm glad you're saying that because it gives me an opportunity to let you know that does not matter. When it comes to what's actually true, a place of neutrality is more true. So, I'm going to actually say a quick prayer real fast before we get deeper into this. You can answer that question yourself. So everyone bow your heads or close your eyes. And it's always best when we pray to actually have our hands open and our arms up. But I'll say a quick prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, dear Divine Mother, thank you so much for everyone that is able to come and join me here on this live to discuss and to integrate your wisdom of the 10 Commandments that were given to us to be able to ascend from a quantum leap on our soul ascension should we choose. Now, please give me the right words that I might be a divine channel, speaking nothing but truths and anchoring those into the 3D. Additionally, please transmute any of the negative energy currently here or popping in and out of all of my TikTok lives towards your greatest good, towards building the kingdom that you want us to build. Let me be a mouthpiece for you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay. Perfect, y'all. Now, so, let's go ahead and get back into this. A lot of times, when it comes to the chakras, as we've already learned, our chakra alignments, they are next to each other, right? So they can kind of bleed into each other. That's why I'm saying here, the 4th commandment of remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy blends the 2 chakras of the heart chakra into our solar plexus chakra. So it's kind of a nice blend. Now, we're going to ask a few questions because I really love some of the moral ethic questions to kind of toy and chop up. Is it moral to work a job if you hate it, but it provides for your family? Or should you find personal fulfillment elsewhere, but it doesn't provide for your family? Another one to kind of think about. Should the law always be followed, or are there times when breaking it is morally right? Y'all, stay a while and you'll find out. Let's be respectful in the chat because I really want to pay attention to the people in the class who show up every single day and are serious about their ascension. This is a class for people that are serious about their ascension, not for lower vibrational energies. Okay? Now, if anyone would like to dismiss themselves now before I block you from all of my whatever, because I'm really quite, like, I did not have a good amount of sleep last night, and I have a very short fuse for the negative energies who actually should be listening to everything that I say and taking notes and probably getting tattoos. And you can get tattoos from Ethan, who's also very serious about his soul ascension. Okay? Now, so please leave the chat available for people that would actually like to contribute or have an actual question. I'll give you one last chance, Azizus. I've already told you. I will not be repeating myself again. Stay and listen. This is on soul ascension. Every single class, every single live of mine is about that. Now, I'm literally so serious, guys. I'm about to draw the line in the sand. And you don't want me to draw the line in the sand because you need to listen. Okay. And everyone else, thank you guys for being patient while we, rally up and lasso some of this stuff. But, yes. If your community, another ethics question to consider, if your community was starving, would it be moral to steal food from another community that had more? So this is going to be kind of freedom versus survival pressures. So the reason we're asking some of these questions is just to get us thinking. Ethics and morals are in our every single day, right? Because we act from a place of whatever we believe. Whether we know what that belief is or not, you have a belief that you act from. Okay? Now, that's why it's really good. The 10 Commandments is a really good base of what to start living your life by, to be able to enjoy and have an abundant life. Okay? Because the pursuit of happiness, as we discussed yesterday's class, is attached to morality. And who's that from? The good boy Aristotle. Okay, Aristotle said our morals plus actually having some type of good, like, living scenario is what can create happiness. Just like the Declaration of Independence says from 1776, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all rights of men are created equal, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What does that entail? Morals. So anyone in here, I'm glad you guys are finally listening because I've got things to say. And you're welcome to stay if you're about to listen. Anyone in here who is spewing negative energy, let's reel it in and get in alignment with some morals, with some values, with some ethics, right? With some fundamental truths. That is how you become happier in life, and you don't spew darkness, you don't spew negativity, you don't spew lower energy vibrational pools. Because what is in the heart comes out the mouth. So whenever you're pointing fingers and saying someone's this and this and this, or you're this or that or this, you're saying that actually about yourself, right? Now, some of the people that have been in my classes have heard me say this a couple of times, and they're probably quite exhausted of me having to repeat these things, but we have to integrate our shadows. We have to integrate the darkness. The darkness doesn't go away. When you integrate your shadow, you shine brightest. Okay? Now, back to the fourth commandment. Remembering the Sabbath. I found that it was quite interesting, you guys, and I think you'll find it quite interesting as well. I love to come at things from all angles, and one of the angles I like to look at is essentially, the numerology as well. When you think about the number 4, it's tied to the physical plane, representing structure, stability, manifestation. Geometrically, it'll correspond to the square, which we were actually talking about earlier. The Egyptians, what's at the base of the pyramid is a square. And these things have stood for 3,000 years. Talk about longevity. Talk about stability. Talk about longevity. Okay? Now, an extremely stable form upon which higher truths can be built. Interesting. I've said that a bunch of times. These commandments here are spiritual truths in which we can build upon. These are foundational truths of spirituality and higher soul ascension, and collectively raising our consciousness together to be able to build upon and do some quantum leaps, y'all, because we ain't no basic out here. We quantum. Okay. Y'all, so spiritually, the cross as well, which I absolutely love the cross. It's like my favorite sigil. It embodies 4, right? Because you have 2 lines that intersect each other at a perpendicular plane. Now, the vertical line, as we already know, is signifying our divine channel to source, and it cuts right through the 3D physical plane, which is the horizontal line. Okay? It descends right into creation. Now, in this way, 4 becomes the meeting point of heaven and earth. Right? So, it also signifies spirit and flesh. Spirit and flesh, the intersection of the two. That we can anchor in together. Of course, it's going to signify completion of labor as well, the stage where your work is actually bearing the fruit. Your toil in the soil is giving you the juicy fruits, right? There's a reason why we have all these interesting sayings within cultures, and one of them is, enjoy the fruits of your labor. I wonder why that is. Well, we're going to learn you right now. We're learning today why that is. Why is it important for us to actually enjoy some of the fruits of our labor? Okay? The number 4 invites us to enjoy the results of effort combined with discipline on a consistent level. Thus, 4 represents and reflects grounding of the divine energy, while also diligence producing stability and reward in our 3D tangible here. Okay? So, Dennis Prager, who I absolutely love, and I wish him health and wellness right now. I think he got into some type of accident quite recently. So Dennis Prager at PragerU, he has a full series. It's all free, guys. You can look at this up yourself too. Which, unless you're on my classes, then you can just listen to what I have to say, because I'm gonna give you a summary. But you can also utilize PragerU. I really like a lot of their content. I think it's fantastic. It's grounded in a lot of sound wisdom and truth. It's usually more coming from the political end of things, but there's other, there's religion, there's all different types of topics and stuff in there. So yeah, I can probably tag it in my story or something, so you guys don't have to remember what I'm saying here. But so yeah, anyways, Dennis, he's just a brilliant guy. He explains that the fourth commandment is not only about rest and freedom, but about human dignity, and that everyone, the fourth commandment creates fundamental human rights for everyone. Okay? And if you read in Deuteronomy, or what is it, Leviticus? No, I think it's Exodus. Exodus and Deuteronomy are where you can find the 10 Commandments, guys. So if you read in the Bible there, it basically states, and it lists out everyone that's included within people that should take a Sabbath. And they list out, like, your maid, if you have a housemaid. They list out your children shouldn't be working. They list out animals. Interesting. So it's a really beautiful commandment, because it actually helps us take care of each other as well, and our animals too. That it elevates human rights by declaring that every person, and it also says slave or a free man in the Bible, deserves a Sabbath. Obviously, we don't condone slaves now, but it does say any slaves should not work, and they should enjoy the Sabbath. So that creates an equal playing field for all humans. Okay? Welcome, thank you for being here. Oh, sorry, a Sabbath is a day of rest, and keeping it holy, to observe. Well, and you'll understand more as we go through this here. Okay? It's basically the creation in Genesis. Creation, 6 days was creation, 7th day was rest. Now, we can't take things so literal when we read the Bible, y'all. The Bible was written long time ago. These things we need to take more from a symbolic, higher perspective, a spiritual perspective, a foundational truth perspective that we can utilize to build upon. But not the end-all be-all of it's this and nothing else. Because that's crusty, musty, dusty, and that's not what it was ever supposed to be. You hear me? And how do I know this? Because we can look into nature, and nature is always changing, ever changing. Our bodies are every 7 years different. So you're telling me that we need to not grow and in a spiritual sense upon the other foundations of truth that we have? You're telling me we need to be stagnant? No, that's not true. How do we know it's not true? Because we find it in nature that it's not true. Stagnancy is not the way. Okay, so in this class and in all my classes, we are on ascension in every single direction. We are not stagnant. We are not pond water. Even pond water is technically moving and ever changing. Okay? Now, as Dennis Prager was saying, that essentially the Bible is stating, sorry, I don't know why I have to do the puzzle thing. Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm done with whatever this 24 guy is. Like, you're gone, bud. I'm just done. Like, you're so obnoxious. So you're blocked by... Like, y'all, let's be... And feel free, my regular peeps that are always in here, if y'all think I should block someone, just let me know in the chat. Because, yeah, they're getting in the way of what we're trying to do, which is learn and ascend and be serious about life and not be joking and stuck on the earthly plane. Some lame. Nonetheless, so essentially, guys, your slaves, back in the day it said slaves, okay? Your maids, the people that cleaned your house, your horses, your animals that were tilling the land, were all too, and your children, and everyone else in between, okay? That includes people that are anything, like just humans, right? Humans and animals, to take a Sabbath, okay? Now, this was technically the first law in history to grant dignity and respect to creatures and all humans, okay? Now, if an owner, you guys, gives their animal, like their horse, right? If they're like, give their horse or their cow a day to recover from toil, that act of reverence and respect towards that animal reshapes the way that that owner treats them throughout the rest of the week, because you're going to have more reverence, more respect. If you have these expectations of your animals to produce things, 24/7, well, we know that nature needs rest, nature needs renewal, nature has regrowth seasons. How do we know this? Well, it's all over nature. Phases, look at the phases of the moon. We have the phases of the moon. Everything has its phases. It's like oscillating in breath. Everything is oscillating, okay? And everything needs a structured time to get work done and to be productive. Look at how we sleep at night. Y'all, we all be sleeping at night, or we should be, because it's healthy. I didn't sleep last night. It was not healthy. And therefore, I ain't no playing no games with no negative energy tonight. They getting zapped by the hand of God. It's about to be a smackdown. Now, wow. I just sometimes go off on these tangents. I apologize. Yeah, be gone. Be gone. Enough with that horrible energy. A complete distraction. Guess what? A distraction is a lower vibrational energy. That's what distraction is. Right? Keep that in mind too. I don't know where I was going with all that, what I was just on a tangent with, but essentially we'll get back to what Dennis Prager was saying about, he's a more rational guy. I am more kind of all over the place, more spiritual, ascension type, and he's more rational. So yeah, essentially when you give reverence for your animals, right, so you're recognizing your animals' outputs for what they are and appreciating them more, having reverence for that, okay, which is extremely important. And you're also understanding its need for renewal. On a deep level, the Sabbath strengthens our human relationships as well. Why? Because when we intentionally say, I am not going to do any work or create anything or this or that for this day, whatever that day is for you, when you put that time aside, it actually opens up more time for us to spend with the people that we love, whether that be friends, families, other coworkers, what have you. Going out and doing community things, whatever, right? So there's so many beautiful points to that one commandment of respecting the Sabbath and honoring the Sabbath. Remembering is the word, remembering the Sabbath. When we speak to each other and we say, oh, remember to do this, it's usually something that we find important, right? So it says, remember your Sabbath. Why? Because it's something we should find important, right? Now, you're creating intentional space to connect with the people that you love and to grow and foster those relationships, as we should, because that's what we're really here to do. And the cool thing about the Sabbath is it also anchors our faith even deeper. Why? Because faith in God leads people to honor the Sabbath, and the Sabbath, as a mirror, in turn, brings people closer to God. Why? Because by observing the Sabbath, we affirm that there's a creator. We affirm that there's higher source. We affirm that we are creators as well. We affirm that we are source as well, and that we are divine too. Okay? That the other thing we also confirm by taking the Sabbath is that life is not meaningless, where we're just a workhorse, or we're just a slave. We're a slave to the man, or whatever. We're a slave to the Uncle Sam, or whoever you want to say you're a slave to. You're a slave to your boss, or your clients. It's funny when we work for ourselves, but yet we have clients. You're still working for someone. You're always working for someone, right? So essentially the Sabbath, remembering the Sabbath, gives us more control as well by letting go of more control too. That we are free from the illusion of total control. And in essence, the Sabbath is both liberation and elevation, reminding us of purpose, balance, and also divine order. And what? Divine timing. Everything happens in divine timing, which is quite beautiful. So I want to go into a little bit of Dolores Cannon's perspective on the Sabbath. Do I need to remove this guy, Longfoot? Longfoot, are you still in the chat, bud? We're about to send you home to lower vibrations, buddy. I'm about to block you right now, bud. Thank you for your time. Take care. Y'all, I'm on a roll here. Shoot. So, Dolores Cannon, who, again, if someone doesn't know in the chat, essentially Dolores Cannon is the person who would do all the quantum hypnosis and get into the superconscious to understand everything that happens behind the veil, essentially, from the other side. These books are so scrumdiddlyumptious, and they're the type of books that you have to read in between. There's so much to unpack. You read in between the lines. I'll actually have you know that this was the first book that I had read of hers, Between Death and Life. Look how small it is. It's not very big, right? Well, guess what? It took me 1,000 million years to read because I would have to reread. And I'd have to read extremely slowly. The whole book is bookmarked or colored. I have every single page has marks, guys. Every single page. Because it's that dense. There's just so much where you're just okay, let me digest what I just read. And let me unravel the things that I also might have not digested as well. That I need to go back and redigest. This is a trip. Y'all, this is a trip, I'm telling you. Anyways, I digress. So she says how her teachings and those truths, she doesn't teach, she technically records, right? Because she's with her patient or subject and she's tapping into their super subconscious. And so she basically just records whatever they're discussing, okay? Now, from her teachings, recordings, whatever, she often said that souls choose their experience, or her subjects, right? The superconscious, we'll just call it the superconscious, says that the soul chooses their experiences as part of a larger plan for growth, and that each life is designed for us to correct, learn, and evolve. Keyword evolve. We on that quantum evolve here. That's what we're doing. Yes. Now, the superconscious explains that many people are caught in cycles of karma, repeating lessons, until they consciously choose to transcend them. Okay. Now, so a lot of the stuff that I say to you guys is literally from Dolores Cannon. According to all the stuff that she recorded, the goal is ascension into higher dimensions of awareness, referred to as the new earth. Souls live in harmony, free from suffering of lower frequencies who have kept us trapped for so many years. And we ourselves have kept us trapped, but now we are waking up and we are learning, right? Now, from that space, quantum leaping into anchoring in divine consciousness into our physical existences, heaven on earth, much like the flower that knows when to bloom, which I have a video on that on my YouTube. Highly recommend you watch it. It's fantastic. Roy, thank you so much for being here. You're the guy. You're the guy, dude. You're the guy. I've been energetically cutting people off left and right. I've been real sassy tonight. We as a collective have blocked now 2 dark energies that were just being all nasty in our comment section here. I digress. I just wanted to give you the hot boiling piping tea. Now, we're essentially on the fourth commandment in discussing why is it important from a spiritual aspect and a foundational truth for Ascension collectively. Why should we honor the Sabbath? Or, aka, why should we honor 1 day a week of no work, just peace, serenity, whatever that needs to look like for you, connecting with your animals, connecting with your loved ones, connecting with new souls, right? Well, more about what Dolores Cannon is saying from her books that on the Superconscious and their discussions, souls live in harmony, free from suffering of lower frequencies, right? Now, we carry the blueprint for our awakening within ourselves to rise out of these lower dimensional, vibrational, nasty, fusty, musty, dusty, crusty, wusty energies. 3D and below, even 4D. Like, we trying to rise, guys. We trying to rise. We need to get to like 77th dimension. You hear me? 88th dimension. We need quantum rising. Quantum leaping. Now, yeah. So by following that path, we can step out of these patterns of HE double hockey sticks, of insanity, of repeated cycles, of karmic cycles that feel like punishment, and instead live in freedom and expansion of cosmic consciousness. Now we'll transition into what the Kabbalah and the Jewish mysticism states on the fourth commandment. Okay, so the Chesed, which is one of the Sefirot on the Tree of Life, which again, interesting how there's 10 commandments and there's also 10 Sefirot on the Tree of Life. I don't think that's by coincidence, right? A time of contraction is where we can pause from worldly striving, okay, to receive extra light, a taste of the world to come. Now, nature's rhythm, like the green fields and the grass and the flowers blooming without effort, right? They have the code, the DNA, to bloom. And they are supplied with what they need to bloom in their divine timing. That is all supplied by God, or Source, Creator. Now, the Sabbath is far more than just a day of physical rest. It's a sacred return to wholeness, which you and I, all of us, have discussed millions of times by now. We come from a place of wholeness because that's from a place of divinity, from a place of certainty that I have everything I need, a place of certainty that everything's unfolding in divine timing as the way it should, that I am blooming like a flower in my season, right? In my own uniqueness, okay? Now, essentially what can happen is during those 6 days of work, a lot of times we can start to live in more fragmentation. Maybe we're being pulled in too many directions. We're getting short on our fuse, right? Like, usually I'm a little bit better with not necessarily... Wow, you said I look like the Wizard Liz. That's literally the nicest thing. She's gorge. She's so gorge. Thank you for that. That's extremely kind. And what you can recognize in others, you have confidence in being able to recognize in yourself from the energetic standpoint, not saying you think you look like Wizard Liz, but you understand beauty from a sense of having that internally as well, which is very, very good. So, round of applause. Can I get some snaps in the chat? Anywho, yeah, guys, so essentially, when we spread ourselves out too thin during our work weeks, which, we are built to be workhorses. We really are. We're built to create. Why? Well, how do we know this? Because we are creators, made from creator. That's all we want to do. We want to be the best. We want to do the best. We want to this and that. And guess what? That's all happening in divine timing, right? It is all happening. So yeah, you don't want to fragment yourself. There's tendencies sometimes, especially if you were to work every single 7 days in the week or not take a Sabbath, or the Sabbath doesn't even have to be the full day. It can be a time you carve out, right? You create and intend when your Sabbath time is, okay? Anywho, so you can get scattered and fragmented with work and desires and demands of the material realm and the material world, and that's what we want to rise above. It's not that we can't enjoy these things, but we enjoy them from a place of wholeness, not from a place of lack, from a place of reveal yourself to me, reveal your goodness to me, reveal your light to me. Okay? Now, with the Sabbath, the veil will lift, and we are invited to realign with divine source, to have that stillness, that peace, that tranquility, where nothing is lacking and we are whole. It becomes a time for our soul to remember our completeness. It is so, and it remains so, and it forever shall be. This echoes the seventh sphera, which is Malkhut, receiving fullness, Malkhut on the Tree of Life, one of the spheres, receiving fullness from the higher realms, right? Because as we recall, the first commandment was that there is divinity, that there is source, creator, God, universe. We are a universe experiencing itself. Now, in the sense, our Sabbath time or day is not just a rest from labor, but a cosmic rhythm. How seasons, phases, rhythms, rest and renewal, recovery. Every extreme athlete and Olympian has recovery. You should too, right? Now, and it mirrors, the Sabbath mirrors creation itself, because as we know from our good book of Genesis within the Bible, God rested not because he was weary, but because he had already completed everything. So I love that, because when we do take our Sabbath time, okay, and we're intentional about this, what we need to remember is we're not coming. My apologies. What we need to remember is to come from a place of certainty that you can pick things back up right where you left off. So we should not have a worried, troubled mind on our Sabbath about, oh, this ball is going to drop here, this ball is going to drop here, this ball is going to drop here. God rested not because he was weary, but because all was already complete. Okay? Now, thus the Sabbath is our sanctuary of time, a weekly revelation that we are whole, that we are enough, and when we rest in the divine presence, we can fill our cups up, fill ourselves with divine light and divinity to be able to harness the rest of our work days and bring in about miracles into our work days instead of fragmentation. You hear me? So, the elevation of the Sabbath affirms we are not just beasts of burden. Okay, we are not slaves. Okay, we are not destined to toil endlessly. And in the ancient world, again, labor was without rest. When someone labored every single day of their life, they were slaves. J-Blaze, just so you know, today is not the day for lower lust vibrational energies. I am absolutely blocking people, and I've done 2 already. So please enjoy yourself, and do not bring in no lusty, dusty, nusty, trusty, wusty, fusty energy into the chat. The chat is this is a class. I know it's on TikTok, but this is a class to be taken seriously, and there's some people in here who show up every single day on time with respect. Okay, so please either follow suit or kindly dismiss yourself to someone else's chat. There are many people with large lips that you can go and enjoy. Today is not the day, okay? Thank you. Now, okay, so that was quite distracting. I do apologize. Yeah. When we choose to not honor our Sabbath, y'all, and just so everyone's clear, you do not have to be in any religion, right, to honor a Sabbath. Again, this is a spiritual fundamental truth that will bless you abundantly when you incorporate these into your life. And you don't have to take a full day if that's something you're not used to, but carve out half a day, an evening, a morning, right, to honor your Sabbath. Remember your Sabbath, because when you have to remember something, it's usually important, right, to incorporate. That we do not live in cycles of survival, because what are cycles of survival tied to? They're tied to the lower 3D dimensions, or just lower dimensions in general, cycles of survival. And we're rising above that. We should have collectively already risen above that, but that's okay. Well, technically, if I actually do believe in divine timing, like I do, then everything happens for a reason, and we are on the right path right now. Or as I really like to say, right meow. Y'all. Right meow. Okay. You are not caught in a cycle of survival. The flower doesn't worry about getting its water. It just gets its water. The flower doesn't worry about getting its sunlight. It just gets its sunlight and can photosynthesize. Okay? Now, when we institute honoring the Sabbath with Source, our divine connection, carved out as a sacred time, it's a sacred time for you, for your divinity, in self and with others. You're actually breaking chains of ceaseless work, because we all know if you were to have your horse working 7 days a week, it's going to burn out eventually, right? When it comes to airplanes or vehicles, you got to have time where you can actually tend to, like, they should be running generally, but they need at least some time to be, like, repaired and stuff, right? They need, as we would need, they need to be repaired, vehicles and airplanes and things that have any type of motor or jet. Just like our bodies are extremely complex. We're like complex plants or complex machines. Machines need rest and renewal. Turning off our phones, turning off our computers, turning off our electronics. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Turning off our electronics and stuff. Why do we do that? Why don't we just keep everything on all the time? Because things, even our quantum computers, need renewal, software updates, right? Everywhere within our own reality, on multiple dimensions, there is some type of rest and renewal, recovery, phase or season oscillating and needed. Okay, so It's essentially getting into the rhythm of creation because you are part of creation yourself, and you are also free. A time to pause and reclaim your divinity, your divine image, and affirm that life is not solely defined by what you produce or servitude, which selfless servitude is part of our higher chakras and our higher dimensions, being selfless in our service to others. But that does not take away that we are still part of creation and we still need our R&R. Okay? We still need to log off and go touch some grass. Okay? Right? Now, in that way, the Sabbath is spiritual and a sanctuary and also a declaration of our own true liberty. We are free beings. We are not slaves. We are whole and we are dignified in the presence of Source, God, Creator, Allah, whatever you call it, does not matter. Superconscious. Okay? So, when it comes to Aristotle's viewpoints, if he had viewpoints kind of based on what he says. Right, exactly. I do want to state right now, you guys, that when it comes to with some of the people in the class right now already know this because I've said this before, but when it comes to our ailments physically in the 3D, these are manifestations of energies out of balance. Now, the subconscious, superconscious, cosmic conscious, whatever, doesn't matter what you call it, that takes notes of everything and is extremely literal. Extremely literal. So when you have any type of backaches and this and that, what's happening? You're probably taking too much. The world on your shoulders. Why do we have sayings like this? We have sayings like this because we should be a little bit more literal when it comes to our 3D manifestations of physical ailments. We should be a little bit more literal. No, I don't say that about everything. A lot of times I say we need to be less literal, but when it comes to our 3D physical ailments, we can actually be quite literal. And then we can actually, when we're literal with those, we can quickly see where we're out of balance and we can choose to show up differently to rebalance those ailments. Okay? So, our boy, Toddle, Aristotle, a lot of this fruitfully correlates with his philosophies of virtue and the pursuit of human flourishing. You cannot flourish without R&R. It's just impossible. Look at the bag underneath my eye because I didn't sleep last night. And how I'm literally, 3 deep in, blocking people? It's so funny. You see what I mean when it comes to taking our rest and relaxation seriously? I literally look like I might have got socked in the eye. I kind of like it. It's kind of like bad, you know? I don't got drama in my life, so I gotta create it, you know? Yeah, I got socked in the eye. You can't even see the other guy. No, just kidding. Y'all. Edgy, thank you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Enough about my vanity, though. This ain't a place for my vanity, as we all know. We're trying to avoid that. I'm about to start using a concealer, putting on my lips, so it looks like just skin. Y'all, I'm out here wild and appreciate you guys being here for the ride too. So Aristotle, you guys, emphasized what he called the golden mean. Okay, and the importance of balance. When we're looking for the mean of something, we're looking for that in between. I be out here rhyming. Snap. It's crazy. It teaches us to live virtuous lives and avoid excess and deficiency, because when we are overworked, we do become slightly more deficient. It's interesting how in other cultures you see this show up differently. If you went to one of our workplaces in America, you don't see people taking naps. You go to other cultures, they take naps. Midday, just conked over. Why is that? Because they understand that we're like complex systems, and we need to get that R&R. Right. And that's when a lot of times the superconscious is going to be quite literal in our ailments, because we're overworking within some capacity, and we're going to get physical ailments from that as well, like manifestation of imbalances in energy. They always anchor into our 3D realm. Okay? Very well said. Thank you for that. Very well. So, command rest after our labors, create harmony between work and renewal. As our boy Toddle saw that contemplation as one of the highest activities of the soul. One thing I would really like to incorporate more into my own daily life, I do a lot of like walks or whatever, because I'm a female. It's just like a nice way to stay trim and not imbalance your hormones. And for my age, if you don't know, 33 is, I mean, it's not like super young. You know, it's getting in that schmiddle range, so I can't be doing like backflips, you know, gainers for my exercise. Some people like to do gainers. For me, no, you know, I can't be doing that, but I digress. What I'm trying to say is, contemplation. So, you know, when we learn these things, when we grow, when we work, when whatever, all of our experiences that we have in that time of work, when we have time to sit back and just process, reflect, consider, contemplate, it keeps you in a place of power. It keeps you in a place of neutrality and objectivity, of not having a short fuse, of not reacting, right? Of not stepping into some of those lower vibrational energies that all of us are so intentional about rising above from. And it's okay to slip up here and there, guys. No one's perfect, right? But when we can rise from a place of intention, we can also rise in a place of awareness. And when we find ourselves slipping into something that we know is not our divinity, we can then decide to act and correct that right then and there, right before it gets into a slippery slope. Thank you for saying I look young, but I appreciate that. You guys, I apologize for this tangent, but I just gotta say it. I hope you guys enjoy my tangents. Hopefully they're like entertaining. I promise this isn't an entertaining tangent. One of the reasons I think I look young, like I technically do look young compared to everyone always thinks I'm in my 20s, okay? And I'm like, nay, I'm not. Nay, okay? I've experienced that. That is not right now. Listen, I know for a fact that one of my previous archetypes of one of my past lives was in ancient Egypt. What's it giving? Preservation. Naturally good at preservation. Y'all. Isn't that wild? How do I know this? Because I was also able to enjoy some Sabbath time of contemplating these things. Reflecting. If you guys haven't already, I want you guys to look into some of your past life archetypes. When you read through them, how you do this is you basically put in your birthday, your birthplace, and your birth time into either Grok or ChatGPT. I'd probably do ChatGPT because I feel like Grok comes from a much more scientific standpoint, and you want a little bit more freedom of the like spiritual standpoint. I'd probably do ChatGPT, but I would do both. So put that information into AI and ask, based on my birth chart, the screenshot of the energy in the sky, the day and time I was born, in the place that I was born, that energetic screenshot, that's your energy. It shows you a lot about your past life archetypes, your current life, soul tikkun corrections, and also will probably energetically show you it will absolutely energetically show you as well if you ask it, your future life archetypes too, kind of where you're potentially leading into, because again, our time is a construct we've made, and technically we're in a simultaneous world where everything is converged into one and all things are playing out at once. So why I'm saying this is so I do this and, I put it into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT's like, oh, for sure, based on this trine here, aspect here, blah, 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 you were in ancient Egypt, more than likely doing some of the work within the death rituals, which completely makes sense from many levels, which I can save that for another class, but one of the levels is absolutely a natural inclination to know how to preserve life, which is really funny. Yeah, so anywho, a very interesting tangent. But yeah, I'm like, it just makes complete sense. A lot of the things that we love and are interested in are tied to our past life archetypes, and as soon as you do what I'm telling you, you will understand, and you'll read through these archetypes, and some of them will resonate at a freakishly high level. And when you have time to contemplate, how in my current life are some of these energetic archetype imprints reflecting in my current life, immediately your brain will be able to be like, oh yeah, I do A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. These are all absolutely linked to this specific archetype. It's bizarre. Well, it's not bizarre, it's freaking awesome, because it makes you feel seen, and you feel heard, and you feel like, oh, I'm not just like a blimp in the universe. I am anchored into this great reality of divinity. It's so cool. Highly recommend you guys do that, and report back to me with, if you'd like, or even feel free to share. Exactly. Thank you for that. See, this is such a nice... It's so nice when we don't have any weird, dusty, crusty energies in here. It's just such a good flow. Such a good flow. So yeah, I appreciate whoever said that I look young, because technically it's wrapped into my past lives. Which is so bizarre, kind of eerie, and... yeah, so we'll discuss more about that type of stuff another time. And based on the time that we have here, guys, we're just going to get through the 4th commandment today, so I do apologize. Thank you for the rose. I appreciate that so much. We probably could have got through, my plan was to do the 5th as well. We're going to start on the 5th tomorrow. So back to what Aristotle, our boy Toddle, is saying on, or would say on the 4th commandment of honoring our Sabbath, okay, is contemplation is something that we need to do. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. These things, you guys, that I say are already internal truths that you hold as well. When I speak them out loud, it's just it'll resonate with you when your soul knows it's true, right? So these are things that you can hear and understand and start to incorporate from a higher level. Okay, so contemplation is one of the highest activities of the soul. How do we know that? Because we are of Creator. Creator is like mind, word, laws, nature, science. Contemplate like mind and word, thought, consciousness. So I 100% agree with Aristotle on this, where one of our highest activities of the soul is to contemplate. And as I've said before with ethics, when we have time to contemplate, free from external biases, free from external polarizing concepts and polarizing ideas and people, places, things, when we can shut out all the noise and we can go internal through our divinity, through source, we can actually step into more power because we're not being as vulnerable. Vulnerability is being swayed and persuaded and manipulated and going down, being sucked into the deep void of the lower dimensions, which is very easy to do. It really is easy, to do, and that's why we choose daily to wake up and say not today, or any day, or any previous day, or any future day, right? So our boy Toddle is saying it's alignment with truth. To be able to contemplate, it's a gift. And divine. The Sabbath invites humans to step back, to reflect, to worship, to communion, and cultivate virtues of temperance. So it teaches us one of the good virtues of being patient, right? Ensuring that we as human beings are not just consumed by endless labor of human doings, but we actually can be a human being, right? Human being. Okay, Ethan, thank you so much. My guy. Appreciate you, brother. We'll see you back. Thank you for your energy. We appreciate you. Now, we essentially are in rhythm with nature and live in higher purpose. So, we're aligning with Aristotle's concept of being in conviction that a good life requires discipline, intentional pauses, space for contemplation, contemplating every dimension, or whatever one wants to contemplate, and elevating us beyond survival into flourishing. Okay, flourishing is going to be higher dimension, survival is lower dimension. When we're looking at Aristotle's lens of the four causes, because behind anything there's a cause, right? Cause and effect. The material cause is the labor and effort of the week itself, the work that produces our tangible results, which is extremely important. The Sabbath does not take away from the importance of not being lazy and not working. Working. We need to do those things, but it's equally as important to take and honor our Sabbath. The work produces our tangible, and the Sabbath, we get to enjoy our tangible, the fruits of our labor. The efficient cause is both God's command and human obedience, the action that brings the Sabbath into being, a formal cause of structure, the 7-day rhythm, giving order and proportion to our lives. Now, this helps us from collapsing and from ceasing to toil, because when you get burnout to the extreme, which I don't wish this upon anyone, we've all seen people in our lives go downhill when they're running on low fuses. They're going downhill. Or even ourselves have experienced these times, had scary moments in our lives. I'm probably going to talk about that in here as well, but essentially, guys, so when you think about the Sabbath is when you choose. It's not attached to any day or time. Why is that? Why do we know that? We know that because, for one, time is a construct we've made up, but for two, guess who works on Sundays? Sunday is not necessarily tied to the Sabbath. Guess who works on Sundays? If Sunday was tied to the Sabbath, then we wouldn't have our preachers and teachers in Sunday school. Right? So, I'm just going off the dome here, but essentially our Sabbath is when we decide, and that's why part of the actual commandment is written. When we pay attention to the root words in the commandment, it says remember. The word remember states that it's something that we must do, and remember, it's intentional, and we decide when that time is. We remember that we need to It's great to create because that's what we want to do. Believe me, I don't even like sleeping. Guys, I don't. I'd rather not sleep. Technically, when we sleep, it's similar to honoring the Sabbath from the sense of rest and renewal, right? But we are wired to create because we are creators from Creator. But here's the thing, we are also needing to enjoy creation and all of the other things I've talked about. There's so many things tied to this one commandment, as there are many things tied to every commandment. But it's so important for us to intentionally take that time, and it does not need to be a specific time or day. It needs to be when you say it is, when it makes sense for you, however long makes sense for you. Because when you start to incorporate, this is a larger spiritual, natural practice at work here, like a universal law at work here, because why? We see it in nature as well. So when you start to incorporate it, even if you're like, I'm so used to working 7 days a week, 24/7, 365, whatever. Okay, carve out an hour. Carve out an hour, and how much better is the rest of your workday? Carve out whatever, that you can, and then build upon that, making sure you can delegate some other things if you need to delegate, to be able to really honor and fill your cup up, to then be able to go out and create and bring in more miracles because you're full with divinity, full of light, when you have your rest and renewal and all the beautiful things that come with the Sabbath. Okay. Everything is, of course, moving. Humanity in general, like, even when we rest, we can understand that things are still moving. Even when we rest, we can understand that everything is still working itself out as it needs to in divine timing. Because we trust and have divinity within self and within source that these things are true. Okay, it's very beautiful. It's reverence for yourself, reverence for what you create during those work days. Okay, reverence for Creator. Right? It's a very beautiful thing. It's balance, guys. Balance. Okay. Now, the wisdom from our boy Toddle here is flourishing requires structure and balance, and intentional pursuit of life's ultimate aim. The fourth commandment also corrects evil hand, grasping and uncontrollable actions, or getting out of control, and evil body, burnout from endless doing. When we are coming from a place of lack or fragmentation because we are scattering ourselves, or we're scattering everyone, giving everyone our energy or whatever, this and that's going south, and during the work week or this or that. When we get into those fragmented spaces, those are times too where we can easily slip into more 3-dimension, lower dimensional things like, oh, I'm just gonna have McDonald's here. I do really like McDonald's. I understand but you hear me loud and clear. When we have fragments, when we start to fragment ourselves, not coming from a place of wholeness, not coming from a place of certainty, not coming from a place of divinity and divine timing in all things, what can happen is we're coming from a place of lack, and we look to fulfill and fill that lack. And usually it'll be one of those, everyone has their own little vices, when we slip into those lower vibrational energies from being overworked or whatever, right? So you guys hear me loud and clear. That's a time where a dark energy can come through and try to get you off your horse, try to make you even more imbalanced, right? Because you're more vulnerable when you have fragmentation, when you have entropy, right? So resting, when we rest, we surrender. Law of the universe is surrender, detachment. detachment, surrender. These are interchangeable. I like to call it certainty. That's more of a Kabbalistic, Jewish mysticism way to put it. Certainty that all is well. And how do I know that? Because all is well within me. Everything starts within. And when we come from that place, miracles enter your life. Miracles enter your work week. Miracles enter whatever you're building and creating. When we can honor these things. This is why it's not just the Bible. It's a spiritual, foundational, universal law of truth. Okay, to honor this from all the different aspects. Like I've given you guys a million different viewpoints and angles on this one, remember the Sabbath, right? There's so many different beautiful things that can happen and pour out when you pour into yourself, contemplate with divinity, rest and renew, recharge, R&R, log off, touch grass. It's such a funny thing to say. I'm gonna go touch some grass right fast here, guys. But the thing is, not only are we creating beauty within our Sabbath, we're creating more beauty and giving more opportunity for beauty and miracles within the rest of our work days. Because when we're in balance and not coming from a place of extremes, we make much more sound decisions. We come from a place of a loving heart. Whatever's in the heart comes out the mouth. You're gonna show up better. You're gonna be better, say better, do better, everything better. All your chakras in alignment, speak better. You're gonna have more unity with self, which in turn, anything from within goes without too. So in turn, you're gonna have more unity with others, which is a beautiful thing. Now, if you guys haven't watched one of my videos, it's called Contemplate the Flowers on YouTube. It was like I think it was my most recent one that I put up. Essentially, when we contemplate the flowers, we see more than just a flower in bloom. There's a lot of wisdom behind all the divine timing, right? The flower is not forcing itself to open up. It unfolds perfectly. And every flower is slightly different and unique and beautiful in its own way. So, and it's also certain that it gets the right nourishment that it needs. It's deeply rooted, it's grounded in its own purpose of the code that's written in its own structure. And in the same way, our soul is guided by eternity rather than urgency, because we do not live by this life alone. We live an eternal life. We make decisions from a place of eternity, not from a place of grasping at survival and lower vibrational this and that. From, it's this one shot. Absolutely not. It's not this one shot, guys. You get more shots. And how much peace do you have in your soul when you don't need to put all the extremes on yourself, but the world on your back? Because hey, if there's something I really want to do and create, I actually have another opportunity in my next lifetime to do and create that as well. And I'm not saying, just be lazy, you have eternity. I'm saying you can be balanced. You can create from a space of certainty, right? From a place of, I know the long game here, not the short game that everyone likes to pretend that and nip at and that we have and distract us and this and that. Like, we can come from a place of an eternity year plan, not a 5-year plan, not a 10-year plan. Okay? Now, in my video, I speak a lot about how we can anchor heaven on earth as well, rising above the collective lower vibrational experience of chaos and suffering, war, what all the lower dense this and that. These are lower consciousness qualities that the darkness wants us to get stuck in these loops with everyone else. Now, when we embrace our soul corrections and step out of those karmic loops, we're walking on a path of cosmic consciousness, which is what we should have been doing from the start. And it's not necessarily, we don't need to put fingers anywhere, right? Everything unfolds in divine timing. There's no fingers to point. This is a collective thing. And collectively, essentially, we do have a lot of rebalance that is shifting and taking place right now because it needs to. And we ascend into our higher states of being and higher realms, higher dimensions, higher universes. Our journey mirrors the natural unfolding of a flower, showing us that immortality is not simply an afterlife concept, but a present reality when we align with divine order and allow ourselves to bloom. So what I want you guys to do is, if you don't already take time for yourself, which, remember, God didn't feel guilty for taking time for himself. Again, the Bible's not literal, but from an energetic space, we know we do not need to feel guilty for taking time for ourselves. What does that create as well when we do not feel guilty for pouring into ourselves? What that creates is more self-worth, more self-esteem, certainty. It creates self-love. When we have self-love, we all know what's in here can mirror externally. When we have love for self first, divinity with source first, then it is a ripple effect into our outer, and our realities start to change and shift. Right? So this week, for sure, carve out a Sabbath, whether it's a full day, whether it's a few hours, your mini Sabbath, your micro, your macro, your maxing out, max out Sabbath, your sabbatical, your month Sabbath, whatever it might be, to reflect, to contemplate, to pour into self, to pour into relationships, communion with others. Whatever it might be for you, it's going to be different for everyone, what that looks like, which is a beautiful thing too, because it just shows our uniqueness. Everyone's going to take that time differently. Now, yeah. So, that is what will help you further in quantum leap on your soul ascension is honoring and respecting self by honoring and respecting and remembering a Sabbath. Remembering, when we need to remember something, a lot of times we carve it out, we write it down, we put it in our planner, we do something energetically within our 3D here to remember. For me, I'm a person that likes to have things written down or on my Google Calendar. We like to have a visual of when that time is going to be, right? So I definitely challenge you guys, if you don't have time carved out for yourself in your sabbatical, to do whatever that looks like that you would do outside of your work and creations, right? To put that into your daily planner or whatever you utilize, your to-do lists. And then too, it's good to assess, okay, was I able to show up a little bit differently from a higher perspective, from a place of divinity? You know, did I notice when I really honored my time, my sabbatical, that I was able to show up differently? And how did that reflect in my outer realm? Like, you can really take note on how these things are positive. Like, what's going on in your life that's reflecting something very positive for taking time for yourself, for taking time for your divinity, for taking time for your communion with others, for taking time for being a free, eternal being, enjoying the fruits of thy labor. Okay? So, tomorrow we're going to pick back up on the fifth of 10 commandments. I can't believe we only did one commandment. I can't wait to have like a moderator or something. I could probably moderate more quickly, but it's sometimes quite distracting for me because I get on really good, like, paths that I want to discuss, and then I get, like, a distracting, lower vibrational energy, and then I'm, like, thrown off the course for a second, you know, so it's, usually I'm a little bit better, but, yeah, I don't know. And then, yeah, if you guys ever want me to, like, freaking take someone out of the chat, you just pop it in the chat, and I see who is being respectful, and I see when others aren't, so I'll know what you're saying and what you mean. But, yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Tomorrow we'll do the 5th and hopefully the 6th as well. But yeah, it's going to be very similar to this layout, with hitting kind of more spiritual aspects of each commandment, some scientific, energetic stuff, and also, of course, some more, like, rational aspects, as one would call it, or more logistic/logical aspects. So I feel like it's good to kind of see things from all angles, as everything is so interconnected. But yeah, bless you guys, bless your hearts and souls, and yeah, show up every day and fight for that good fight, which is raising our vibrations together. Appreciate y'all. If anyone has any questions or anything, or wants any opinions or this or that, or yep. And the cool thing is, this is only the beginning, or as I like to say, beninging. In the beninging. Y'all, it's only the beginning. We are ultra blessed. I know, right? Beninging. And don't mind me out here. Cool. So yeah, same time tomorrow. I'm gonna get started at 8 for the 5th commandment, and it should be quite juicy. Quite juicy. Oh snap! Our boy Prager. What's up, brother? We're just actually wrapping up the 4th, Pacific PST. We just wrapped up the 4th commandment. We got through one commandment from 8 to 10. 2 hours. It's so funny. I always think I don't have enough, but then I'm like, wait, no, I got some material for sure. And a lot of this stuff is like cross-pollinated, you know? But yeah, essentially, Frater, you missed it. I really kind of laid some laws in the sand, drew some lines. I kicked out, blocked 3 people. I'm like, yeah, I don't need the numbers that bad. Like, I need good energies. That's what I need. So they had to go. I was like, nay, not today. Not today. But yeah, that was fun, guys. Tomorrow we'll work on the 5th and hopefully the 6th, and then that's Friday, so we'll pick back up on the end of the commandments beginning of next week as well. Because what? We gotta honor our Sabbath. The 4th commandment. 4th commandment. Anyone else have any follow-up questions, this or that? Oh my gosh, you're so nice. Yeah, so I appreciate that comment. Y'all, essentially, anything that comes through me is just straight through source. Not saying that I'm always correct or always right, or what I say is absolute truth, because what I say is more foundational that we can build upon, right? There's never an end-all, be-all. Things aren't black and white, as we know. But yeah, essentially, I really can't take credit for this because it's through me. It's not really just me. It's through me. I am a vehicle, as we all are vehicles and vessels, right? So I can't take all the credit, but I can take some. I can take cred where cred is due. That's right. It's the energetics that are interwoven into what we do not perceive and see in this specific realm. 120 million bajillion %. If you guys want, I could do a little prayer for the night, if y'all want. Or if anyone has any other Q&A. We kind of did more of like a freaking ASMR class today because I got no sleep last night. I'm running on zilch. I'm running on the Holy Spirit, y'all. That's that juice. Okay, I'll do a prayer. Gotta get my chakras in alignment. Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, energetic fabric woven into the cosmic tapestry of everything that is, everything that was, and everything that is to be. Thank you for our time shared today, our time to learn and grow in foundational concepts, foundational truths that echo throughout all space-time that you have provided us with to be able to lead lives of anchoring divinity, anchoring heaven on earth, anchoring all the goodness and abundance that is our divine birthright. We pray for each soul that is in here and every soul that we also encounter, whether it be digitally or in the 3D tangible, to expand our vessels, to transform our vessels to be able to hold more divine light, more divine truth, more divine wisdom, more embodied truth, so we can go out and we can spread the divine light and create miracles in our lives and in everyone else's lives. That we may be beacons of divine light and deacons as well, with stepping into our purpose with confidence, with certainty, with balance of remembering our Sabbath, creating space to contemplate the flowers and just be as you have created us to be. As we are human beings, we are human doings, and we are also spiritual, eternal souls. Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Alright, y'all. Alright, y'all, fam. We out here. Bless up, prayer up, abundance in our cup. So I'll see you hasta la pasta mañana. And yeah, let's log off and touch grass. Ayy. Touch grass. Ayy. We touching grass. Ayy. Appreciate you guys, fam. Soul fam. Hasta la pasta mañana.